get started. So, let's see if I can do this without like tearing up. Dear 15-year-old Cara, it is not your fault. You did nothing to deserve this, no matter what they tell you. You are a very strong woman who knows in your heart there is so much more. No matter how many times you are told it doesn't get better, no one else will love you, you should just be happy and you're just too different to fit in. It will not break you. Self-medicating and self-mutilation do not define you. You're a victim of verbal abuse, self-loathing, self-harming, and trying to medicate yourself so you can't feel the pain you are battling inside. You will never fit a mold that people will see you as. Embrace your difference and don't be afraid to feel. Otherwise, how will you let people in enough to be loved? Yes, one breath without crying. Before I start talking about this in a little bit more in depth, I will state that if you do stuff like this, there is a trigger warning. I will be talking about things that could possibly trigger you, so keep that in mind. Basically, when I was 14 and a half, I started to cut. Basically, I took a razor blade and just kind of sliced across my arms, my legs, on my stomach, and just kind of areas that were easy for me to hide, with the exception of my arms. That was a little bit harder to hide in the summer. But yeah, I tried to hide it, obviously, for obvious reasons. I knew it was wrong. Like, you shouldn't be doing this sort of thing, but it, for me, was a very big emotional release, because when I had pent-up emotions, whether it be anger or sadness or just an overabundance of emotion that I just needed to release, instead of talking to someone like I should have done, I kind of just released it by releasing blood. It's a really weird thing to think about, but that was my way of releasing all of that emotional baggage that I had like been bottling up inside. So yeah, I pretty much cut every single night for those many years, from 14 and a half until 20 and a half. So what is that, like 4 years? 6 years? I'm terrible at math, by the way. So for those 6 years, every single night, I ended up cutting myself. And when I was 15 and I was in an abusive relationship, that I did contemplate suicide. Oh my god. Contemplating suicide is a part of one of my favorite songs. Now it's going through my head. But yeah, I contemplated suicide. I would take some cutting along the vein and do it that way. Like I said, I never cut deep enough to actually do things like that, but that was something that I did for a while. I was told multiple times that I wasn't beautiful enough to be with other people. I should just be happy with being with this person. I was told that it doesn't get any better than him because no one else will love me like he did, and things like that. It's not necessarily, I guess, typical, you know, things that a verbal abuser would say, but for me it was abusing, and it did make me cut more. I think for just attention and probably sympathy on his part. Cutting myself, I think, was my way to try and get his sympathy. It never happened. He didn't deserve me, and I think in this time span of all my cutting and emotional baggage that I put on myself, I started doing other outlets to kind of release emotion. I was self-medicating myself, basically with alcohol and with painkillers. If you've never tried to overdose on over-the-counter pain medication, all it did was give me a major headache and ringing in my ears, for like the rest of the next day. There was a couple times that I remember during the day I would be drinking alcohol around my parents. I don't think they knew. At one point I realized I was really drunk and I was watching TV with my family, and you know, the thing to me that kind of made it feel a bit obvious, the fact that I had been drinking, for the fact that I got out of my chair and I was just like having a hard time walking in a straight line to my bed. There's a good week-long memory, I guess, in my mind that I had been drinking from like sunup until I went to bed. And when I went to bed, it was like I crashed. my body, my brain just out. Also a time in my teenage life where I did a lot of self-loathing. I was trying to do modeling, and basically anytime we did modeling, they always chose people who were skinnier than I was, people who didn't have as big of butts as I do, and just things like that. So I tried losing weight, and I tried, you know, getting that small little white girl booty that I clearly do not have. I have a big butt. That's just what's gonna happen. It's gonna remain big. But I tried doing that. I tried almost, you know, I was almost borderline anorexic for a good year. My mom actually did say something to me, and she was like, "Are you trying to be on a diet?" Something like that. And at that point, I did realize I was getting really small. Not in the areas that I wanted to, but my arms looked really tiny, my stomach was really tiny, and my legs were really tiny, but I still had a big giant butt. Like, what the hell? Really, body? Ridiculous. My mom recently sent me a journal with like a bunch of things written in it. It was basically like a diary of, the first half of it is basically a food diary, and the second half of it is like a diary where you write things out. Yeah, this first half is kind of ridiculous. The amounts of things that I ate or didn't eat, I guess, because there'd be like, in a day I had 8 ounces of yogurt, I had like a banana and an apple, and like I would measure out like a half a cup of like pasta, which if you look at a half cup of pasta, that's not a lot. And if you calculate out the calorie wise, that is so little amount of calories. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm really glad I didn't actually get into like recreational drugs and things like that. So that's one good thing. Yay me for not doing that. That's what happened. If you guys have any questions or comments or concerns about, you know, signs and stuff, or what you should do if you've noticed someone with some sort of signs of this type of behavior, then let me know down below and I can definitely help you out a little bit. I'm not a counselor, but since being in those situations, I feel like I know a little bit about it, so definitely let me know if you have any questions or anything. But I hope you guys found this helpful. I'm not trying to be like, I don't want sympathy or anything. I'm just putting this information out there that I have self-destructive past, and that sort of thing. Everybody has a past, but mine just seems to be very self-destructive to other people's. So yeah, I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you guys found this helpful. So I'll talk to you guys later. Big hugs from my family to yours.